I'm Ashtyn Hiron, joined by Tim Oldham, Managing Director and CEO of AdAlta. Thanks so much for your time today, Tim. Could you give us an overview of some of the highlights of 2023?
2023 for AdAlta was undoubtedly all about the progress and substantial de-risking of our lead therapeutic 8214, which we're developing for rare fibrotic diseases, including idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. During the year, we managed to link receptor occupancy, that's the amount of time that the drug blocks its target receptor, and that's something we can measure, with efficacy. So now we can correlate what we can see in healthy volunteers in our clinical trials with likely efficacy. And that's a massive de-risking of the planning for our phase 2 program. That work enabled us to then build a model that allows us to simulate the effect of different doses of 8214, and that allowed us to confirm that the dosing interval that we're targeting and that we need to be commercially viable is actually likely to be effective. So that was a second piece of de-risking. The third thing that happened was that dosing simulation model also allowed us to identify the potential to move in the future from intravenous administration, which would require a patient to come into hospital every couple of weeks for an infusion, to subcutaneous administration, i.e. injection under the skin, which they could do on their own at home. So that's a massive value add for our potential pharmaceutical licensing partners down the track. So with that, we've started a phase 1 extension study to test that target phase 2 dose. The interim results of that have been fantastic as well. And that's really enabled us to build some pretty substantial momentum around partnering that lead program.
And you just mentioned that you've been looking at partnering 8214. What gives you confidence in this strategy?
So we know that we're going to need help to progress 8214 into phase 2 clinical trials. That's beyond our financial reach at the moment. It's always been part of our strategy that we would seek financial and or pharma partners to do that. We're approaching two strategies to secure those partnerships. The first one is a more conventional out-licensing of the asset, which would mean we'd hand over 8214 to a larger biopharmaceutical company. They would then conduct the phase 2 and 3 clinical studies for development, for ongoing development, and ultimately commercialize the asset. We would earn then an upfront payment on signing that deal and milestones and royalties as development continued. And in the middle of the year, out of the largest partnering conference in the world at Bio in Boston, we came out of that meeting with 21 companies that were interested in evaluating 8214 and willing to partner at phase 1, which is where the asset's up to right now. Interestingly, we also had a number of inquiries from financial investors who were interested in participating in funding the phase 2 program. So that enabled us to open up a second partnering strategy, which we call a co-investment strategy, where we'd retain control of the asset, we'd spin it out into a subsidiary or a special purpose vehicle, and that new investors could invest directly in that asset, not exposed to the other activities that we're doing or the ASX and its vagaries, but really just focused on the underlying value of this asset. And we've been able to advance that quite significantly to the point where we're able to add additional advisors to help us evaluate that opportunity. So that gives us two prongs to pursue this strategy. And the other piece of confidence we have is that this is an active partnering space for big pharma companies. There have been 11 deals in the last 15 months, almost one a month over the last 15 months for assets at between preclinical development and phase 2 development. 8214 is right in the middle. And those products have been transacting for upwards of $45 million up front and up to $1 billion in potential milestones. So we've got two strategies that are active and gaining momentum. We've got a de-risked asset, which is becoming more and more attractive to those potential investors. And we've got an active deal landscape where we know there is demand for this asset. So all of that together gives us a very high degree of confidence that there's the potential to transact this asset sometime in 2024.
And Tim, you've been looking and working at a lot of other opportunities. How are you managing people and resources?
So one of the attractions of AdAlta is the iBody platform is a really powerful drug discovery tool. And that enables us to essentially go where traditional antibody drugs can't, to solve some of the most challenging diseases where we really need that antibody selectivity and specificity, but we've been unable to achieve it. Beyond 8214, we're actively thinking about, well, what next? We have 4 other programs in various stages of discovery and preclinical development, with a particular focus on cell-based immunotherapies. And this is where we're reprogramming a patient's own immune system to go and fight cancer. We're also looking at opportunities to invest in our platform and to expand our clinical stage pipeline. But every dollar that we have and every dollar that our shareholders are generous enough to provide for us is really, really precious, particularly in the current environment. In 2 raises this year, we've raised about $4.8, nearly $5 million. And that's solely designed to progress 8214 and the partnering effort. So while we have all this line of sight and plans in place for what happens after 8214, we're constantly evaluating those programs, both our investment of money, but also our investments of time, to make sure we keep laser focused on that main game, which is partnering 8214 and unlocking the value, not just of that asset, but the opportunity that gives us for the rest of the pipeline.
What are the strategic priorities and some of the key activities planned for 2024?
So number one is realising the value of the investment in 8214. We've invested almost $45 million over the last 10 years in this particular asset. We're now closing in on the opportunity to earn a return on that investment, and we're super excited about that. And completing the phase 1 extension study will enable us to realise those partnering activities, and that then unlocks the other 2 strategies that we're having in the background, which is enabling progress on our iBody-enabled cell-based immuno-oncology program, and continuing to invest in our platform and expanding our pipeline with clinical stage assets.
And in 60 seconds or less, why should investors be excited about your company?
So we have a really attractive valuation at AdAlta today. Our market capitalisation is around about $10 million. 8214 has the potential to attract deal values represented by $45 million up front alone. Clearly, that's a multiple of our current market cap. So we think the valuation is really attractive. We've substantially de-risked our lead asset, 8214, in 2023. The partnering window for that is well and truly open. So we have that real opportunity for near-term transactions, and we have an exciting pipeline of future opportunities ahead of us.
Tim, thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you very much.